Hey, beautiful souls. This one is for my moms. No one really tells you this. You're doing great. In fact, you're doing greater than great. You're doing God's work, being a mom. However you're momming, however you're doing motherhood. There's no perfect answer, perfect module, perfect user guide to being a mom. However you're doing it is appropriate for you and for your family, and the time and effort that you are putting into it is all valid. More than it's all valid, you're not doing it in vain. I'm just gonna be straight with you. I know sometimes it feels like I'm putting all this time and effort into this and like nobody sees what I'm doing, and the validation that you seek from others, maybe from your kids, maybe from your family, maybe from your husband or your partner, it's not what you actually need. The validation you actually need is the permission that you have to give yourself to allow yourself to fall in love with you as mom. Okay. So I'm going to tell you something, and this is something that I read somewhere, and I started to meditate on it, and I started to really channel this message from spirit. So I read this really powerful post on Instagram about how a mom is doing God's work in the sense of like we are nurturing and raising children. We're raising a being, we're raising a human. And the only other being in this entire universe that does that is God. Okay? And this message is really for those of you that like are still in your journey, you're still trying to figure out your relationship with God, you still haven't understood or embraced that you and God are one. You're still in the sense of like there's separation, and that's okay. Okay, we ebb and flow through it, and there's no shame in that. However, I want you to understand this message that came through to me from spirit, in the sense of like anytime you're sitting and you are doing your thing as a mom, you're folding laundry, you're cooking, you're doing dishes, you're taking your kid to school and picking them up, and you're just waiting on the school line, waiting for them to come out, and it's been like 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, and maybe they're delayed today, or you're driving them around all weekend long to different birthday parties and different activities, and maybe you're still in the new phase where you have a baby and like you're constantly feeding and constantly tired of the whole process of feeding and napping and feeding and napping, wherever you are in your phase of motherhood. Okay, all of those things that you do as a mom, the only other being in this entire universe that does that same exact thing is God. God instilled in you, in your heart, in your spirit, himself, herself. Okay? Let that sit with you for a second. Your heart has been purified to the point that you can hold space for this being, right? Think about when your children are little and they're like, they don't know what they're doing. They're kicking you. They're like tumbling all over, and they're like maybe like hitting you. Maybe they're biting you. My son went through a biting phase when he was like just a little bit over 1. It like literally it feels like abuse of some kind. They're saying things to you that it's like, how are they saying that to me? They're doing all of these things, okay? All of these things that you probably not tolerate from any other person. However, because they're your child, you have this unconditional love for them, okay? And think about what we're doing with God. Just take a moment and think about it. Think about how you're acting with God, and how God never leaves. Is always there. Just like a mom. She's always there, no matter what. She never quits. She doesn't have any days off. She's always there for her children, no matter what. No matter the age, too. My mom is almost in her late 60s, almost 70. And still to this day, you know, she's always there for me. If I call her and I'm like, Mom, I need you. I need to talk to you. She will drop everything for me. And irrespective of if I have talked to her, if I haven't, if I got to fight with her, if I said something to her that was hurtful to her, she still shows up with unconditional love. Because God put that unconditional love in her heart for her children. Just like me, God put unconditional love in my heart for my son. And just like you, if you're a mom, God has put unconditional love in your heart to love your children. But there's more. That unconditional love that is in your heart can be expanded further, and this is the message I came through, further to others. So just the way that you don't judge your kids, just the way you look at your kids in a different way, you know, people may call it partiality or a bias. And this isn't about like looking the other way or taking abuse, right? This isn't about that. This is about dropping the judgments that we hold so close in our heart and allowing love and compassion to lead the way. Okay? That's what this is about. Obviously, if somebody is misusing you or abusing you or treating you unfairly, you have to speak up to that. I'm not going to tell you to tolerate that. You have to have respect for yourself, which means that others have to show you that respect, and if they're not in your life. Okay? This video is not about you taking that abuse. I want to make that very clear. This video is about you taking away the judgment in your heart that you hold for others. More so, the judgment in your heart that you hold for yourself. Okay? As moms, we're so critical of ourselves. We're so critical of thinking that we don't do anything and we're just, you know, making it by, or we're not good enough. Because half the time we're doing a million things and it's hard for us to sit and reflect on what we have been doing, right? It's hard for us to actually feel that. And I am here to tell you that you are doing an amazing job. You're doing God's work. You waking up every day to show up and do whatever it is that you do, okay? Even if it's like you're waking up and you're making breakfast and you're dropping your child to school, or you know you're playing with them, whatever it is, you just showing up to do that in itself is huge. You waking up, making breakfast, dropping them off, going to work, whatever it is, whatever your schedule is, you showing up every day as a mom with the smile on your face to make sure that your child is taken care of day after day after day after day, that's God's work. I want you to understand the power that you have within you. You're not weak. You're not small. You're not insignificant. You are not forgotten. You are actually the chosen one. God chose you to nurture this being, this soul. There's not that many people on this world that get that opportunity. Not all of us become mothers. Some of us never do. And so remember that it is a privilege that you have been handed from God. And it is hard. It's not easy. I know. So have grace and compassion for yourself when it's hard. Love yourself so dearly. Take the judgment off of yourself and others. And pour back the love that you already have. God has already instilled that unconditional love. Pour that love to you and onto others. I'm going to end it there. I love you.